right. There we go.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and potential Toastmasters. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your District 115 Club Growth Director, Ken Richardson, and with me today is my lovely co-host, distinguished Toastmaster, past District Governor, Phyllis Trimby. Hi, Phyllis, how you doing?
Hello, Ken, and hello to our public out there, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Everything is going A-okay with me today. How about you, Ken? Are we on Facebook? Everything working live?
Thank you there for that moment. Yes, I'm just checking. Everything looks good. We are live on our Facebook page, so people can join us and make comments. We'd be glad to answer any questions. Today, we're going to talk about district leadership. As you know, this is the time of the year when our district leadership committee, headed up by our immediate past district director, Kristen Harrell, when we talk about new leaders for the upcoming year, the fiscal year starting July 1st. So I want to talk about all the top roles and what the qualifications are, a little bit about what they do. And then we will encourage our viewers to get involved, to take on a challenge, to stretch your leadership and to learn new roles. You've been through all of them, right, Phyllis? So you can really relate to this type of discussion. So anything you want to say before we get started?
Okay, let's see that PowerPoint, Ken. I know you got one.
Oh gosh, I'm worried about my reputation. I don't know if it's good or bad.
You'll lose your last name and just become PowerPoint Ken.
PowerPoint Ken, that's it. Well, yes, here's the start of the PowerPoint. I love this is a very colorful template you can download from Toastmasters. But getting us started, let's talk about what does the administrative structure of District 115 look like. And at the base of this pyramid, probably the most important role, don't tell my colleagues I said that, but the area directors are so vitally important to the success of the district because they are the direct link between the management team, leadership team, and the clubs. They're like first responders. They're the ones they have their finger on the pulse of the clubs. They know which clubs are doing well. They know which clubs may need some additional support. So I always think that they are, with that, if we didn't have those area directors, we would lose so much. Comments?
Well, they're the ones that get the information to the individual clubs so that if there's something great going on in the district, your members can't know about it if your area directors aren't out there talking about it. And you're right, they're the ones that know what's going on in the clubs. And, you said first responders. Well, it's true. It's like, this club has not having the participation that it used to. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe I need to get them like a club coach. But so they're there to see what's happening in the club and help them any way they can to continue on and help our members to be distinguished members and reach all their goals.
Exactly. And then the area directors, of course, report to division directors, and the division directors don't directly report to like the club growth director or the program quality director, but we all report to the district director, who is at the very top of the pyramid and has overall responsibility for the district. So let's go into some of these roles and talk about some of the differences and some of the requirements, starting with that very important area director. Now, an area that consists of not less than 3 or more than 6 clubs. So it's a grouping of clubs that are collectively called an area for which the area director is responsible. One of the tools they have that I think we probably don't utilize enough to help their areas is the area council. Now, I did a lot of research Of course, I played the role of area director, or I was in that role I was area governor many years ago. And I realize in retrospect that I did not take advantage of the area council concept in the way that I should. The area council, if you read the district leadership book, which we'll reference at the end of the presentation today or our discussion, consists of your club presidents, your club vice presidents of education, and your club vice presidents of membership. These are some key positions within the club that can provide insight to the area director on how that club is doing. What is the health of the club? And one of the things that we need to encourage more in our training is utilizing the area council, getting it up and running and making sure they have input. How about when you were area governor? Phyllis, did you find it challenging to get people together for meetings? I know people hate meetings most of the time, but give us your perspective.
Feed them and they will come. But, the council meeting when I was an area director was mainly to plan out our contest. We would pick the day. I was actually given a week of time where I could have my contest. And then I had my area council and we talked about what day would be good. I had a spreadsheet. Everything was listed at all the clubs, and each club picked what they would be responsible for at the contest. So that's what our main thing was, to plan the contest. And then, if we could get done with that in less than an hour, then we talked about who, in my day, you had to have so many competent communicators, and all these various little details had to be filled. And so then I would ask them who was going to be able to get a CC, competent communicator, one or two of the other things that were needed, and would they definitely be able to be distinguished, and what was the help that they needed. So that was what I did as area council. We planned all of our contests. There was no date given. We picked the date that we wanted.
Well, I think that's very good. One of the tools, two of the things the area council should do is work on contests and work on the Distinguished Club program. Now, here in summary is what technically the area director is assigned to do. They must visit their clubs at least twice a year, of course, complete that area director report twice a year. And I know that report is always something that you hear a lot of complaints about. And even in my day, it was sort of cumbersome, and I'm not sure that we utilized it to the best of our ability as it is intended to help us identify clubs that may be struggling and what help they might need. Conduct area council meetings at least twice a year. And then, of course, organize and manage the contest. Now, that doesn't mean that the area director has to be the contest chair. By this, I mean they are the presiding officer of area contests. So their role is to put together the committee and make assignments so that the contests do happen. And as you pointed out, Phyllis, having the area council as your committee, I think is extremely valuable when you get the input from the clubs regarding your club contest. When I was an area governor back in the day, we got together on a Saturday, all of the area, at that time we were part of District 33, but all of the area directors and division directors. And at the time we had, we had divisions B, C, and H, I think were the ones here in Las Vegas. We all got together on a Saturday and we hashed out who was going to have what date for their contest, because we wanted to make sure that we didn't overlap. There was an opportunity for everyone to participate. Now, I don't have it on the screen, but they're in the book. There aren't specific requirements in terms of qualification and background for an area director, But I think to move into this role, you need to have been a Toastmaster for at least a year, I think, and also to have served in an officer role. That's not a written requirement, but I highly recommend it because I think otherwise you're going to enter a role that is very, very confusing. The other thing about area director is that you can serve a succeeding term. In a lot of the roles we're talking about, you're not allowed to succeed yourself, so to speak. But area director and division director are the two roles that you can. Anything I missed here, Phyllis, that you want to add on?
You mentioned the reports, and I think it's very true. These reports are sent in by the area director, but they are also received by, I believe, the district director, and making better use of the information that is on these reports is really needed. I know myself that I did not look at them, like you say, as closely as I should have, or I might have realized that there was a less membership over the years. And it depends upon how many of these reports you get that you go back and compare them with previous years' information. So yeah, I would say that that is great. And also this, at least 2 times a year, when I talk to area directors, I always tell them they need to stretch themselves. They need to, if at all possible, visit each one of their clubs once a month.
Yeah,
How
I
do
agree
you
with
know
you.
what's going on if you're not there?
Yeah, this is a minimum requirement. I'm glad you pointed that out because it's important to keep your finger on the pulse of your clubs if you're an area director. So attending their meetings more than twice a year is highly recommended. Now,
And I like that another point to make here on the council meeting. Yes, it is the top 3 officers in your club, but invite anybody. You want a representative from that club. So just because, those top 3 can't make it, there might be somebody else as a retiree that could come in and listen to the council and take their information back or express information from their club to the council.
That's a very good point. Those positions are what's in the district leadership training manual, but you're absolutely right. Invite anyone from your clubs that has an interest in participating or has the time.
Right.
But moving on to district director, there are some qualifications here that we need to discuss briefly. If you're going to run, and this is an elected position for division director, you must have served at least 6 months on the district council. Well, that means you will have been either a club president or a vice president of education for at least 6 months, because that's the makeup of the council. At the club level are those 2 officers. So that's a requirement that is baked into the district division director role. A division, much like an area, the area is made up of clubs, the division is made up of areas. Not less than 4 or more than 6 areas make up a division. Also, there is a division council. What I love about this structure is, starting with the area directors, you have an advisory group, your area council. The division council has the same. It's made up, however, of the area directors within that division, and they are suggested to meet at least 2 times a year. I think they should meet more frequently, and most division directors that I know, have at least monthly meetings of some sort. Of course, on Zoom, it's much easier to arrange a Zoom meeting if you can't meet in person. I like the in person. When I was a division director, we occasionally held a conference call. Back in those days, we didn't have Zoom. But most of the time we would meet for dinner somewhere and have that face-to-face connection. Let me look at some of the other things they do. they, as we mentioned, the area directors organize and manage area contests. Now the division director must organize and manage division contests. And I love contests. And when I was area director, each area did its own. We have combined contests today, which I think is wonderful. But I was a bit of a novice and I had attended several contests. So I just kind of called people and said, hey, will you be the Toastmaster? Will you be a judge? And kind of put that together. And then I was a little more organized when I became a division director and was able to pull people together much easier, much more organized. In fact, that was my high performance leadership project, was to get that meeting organized and together. What are your thoughts on these, the criteria and the role of the division director? Want to expound on that?
Well, the division council, yeah, I agree. Again, if you feed them, they will come. I had to laugh when I saw this because I used to have them here at my condo. And I had one Saturday that started at 2 and it was 8:30 at night before I got rid of everyone. So it was kind of like a party went on. We did a lot of discussion, but there were also people that I invited that were appointed offices to come in and speak, and also training sessions. Area governors don't always know how to go about picking the best Toastmaster for their contest or just general information about it. So I think it's also a great time that you could bring in people that will give them some extra training. And also it's almost personal information, because I had 6 area directors and it's like they can talk to someone personally that's done it before and get great training from that. So that's what I would recommend, once a month.
Absolutely, absolutely, at least once a month. I know some directors, division directors, that meet more frequently, like twice a month, but whatever it is, I'm with you, at least once a month is important. Now, the club growth director is sort of the first or third ranking officer, if you will, in the district. That's my current role. And it's a challenging role. And here's the 2 main things I've grouped here. For the club growth director, their role is to develop new clubs. And you can't do that alone. I have a club growth committee that includes what is titled the club extension chair. And he works out in the field, so to speak, to develop leads and to arrange for demonstration meetings and that type of thing. He also is responsible for recruiting and training club sponsors and club mentors. So the Club Growth Committee is one of the most important roles or committees that we have as Club Growth Director. The other is part of our challenge is to support existing clubs. And for that, we have a club retention chair. And I'm very fortunate to have as my club retention chair, Sherry Parker. My club growth committee, our club extension chair is Jason Leduc. And the club retention chair works on things. Right now, Sherry's working on best practices for clubs that include, because I think if your club is following a guide for best practices, you're having consistently high quality meetings and that's a key, I think, to retention. Also, I have a club coach trainer, the lovely Phyllis Tribby. Because one of the things that we want to try and do in providing support to existing clubs, for those clubs that are struggling, is to be able to provide a club coach, an experienced Toastmaster who had some additional training and coaching that can help them either rebuild or recruit or manage their club in a way that it gets to that higher level of quality and retention. Your thoughts, Phyllis?
Well, the club sponsors and club mentors and the club coach, all these have a training session on Toastmasters International. And I really did not know this until it was presented to me at one of the DECs that there was really PowerPoint information on sponsors and mentors. I thought, you were appointed and you did the work. But there are actually training sessions to learn how to be each and every one of these positions. And as far as club coach, let's say I love club coach and talk about it all the time. So I want to tell people too, though, that these positions receive a point from Toastmasters International or credit toward Distinguished Toastmaster. And when you receive that information, you get that award, it doesn't die this year or next year. It is good for you for your life. So whenever you get ready to do DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster, you can use the point that you have gotten now. So now is the time to come forth and be a sponsor, a mentor, or a club coach.
Yes, and I will point out too that the club coach, I've just recently attended a update from Toastmasters International, and the club coach training is going to be added to Basecamp in the near future. So they're revamping that. Now, qualifications for club growth director: you must have served at least 6 months, 6 consecutive months as a club president, and 12 consecutive months as either a program quality director, club growth director, division, or area director. So this, you could become a club growth director after having served a time as a PQD or even a previous club growth director. But interestingly, in the guidebook, the leadership book, you cannot do successive terms. You cannot be elected to successive terms in either club growth director, program quality director, or district director. But you can go back, I guess, and recycle and serve in that role again at some point in the future. And well, that's what, the club growth director must serve a full year and cannot be re-elected for a succeeding term. But as this implies, you can cycle back. Is that your understanding or reading of that as well, Phyllis?
Yes. When I was in district leadership, we met many people that were doing district governor for the second time because there was not anyone that was willing to step up. And so they had been it maybe 2 years ago and went back into leadership. In our district, yes, we do kind of 3-step program. You do 1, 2, and 3. But in other districts, they may only want to do the club coach or the club growth director, or they may only want to do the program quality director. They may not want to do all of them, and they don't have to. It's not a rule that you do all 3, but in our district, we have kind of always worked that.
It's an expectation. It's an expectation.
Yes, it is. And that's
not a rule.
Kind of what I talk to about people is that, yes, do it. And if something comes up that you can't go on, that, you're not going to be blackballed. You just tell them you cannot, do the next grouping, and someone will step forward.
I've often thought, once I get through, the moving up the tree and then I need to recycle and go back to being an area director again, because I will have had finally the training and experience I feel like I need.
I think that's very true of Toastmasters. It's a learning organization. Once you've finished it, then you know how to do it.
It's like,
you should go back and try again.
Now I can go back and implement all the things I've learned that I should have done the first time around, and do them the second time.
What worked and what didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, next is the program quality director. The program quality director is responsible for education and training within the district, including overseeing the Distinguished Club program, club officer training, the TLI that we do twice a year. District officer training, we mentioned that a little bit earlier, but the program quality director oversees that. And of course, our district conference, which is coming up May 14th. It's going to be at the Hampton Inn, I think that's off of Tropicana and Dean Martin in that area. And then of course, contest. Did I leave anything out here, Phyllis?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's
All
what
right.
that's what they do. A lot of trainings and education and organizational. This is where you learn how to organize things and make everything happen on time.
Yeah, and I love teaching, of course, and I love doing the educational programs that, like this one, Wake Up with Toastmasters. I consider it to be an informational and educational program, so I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to it. If I'm lucky enough to get elected to this position come May, then I'm looking forward to it. And I have a good guide to follow from our current program quality director, Gene Williams. If you look at the qualifications, they're very similar to club growth. 6 consecutive months as a club president and 12 consecutive months as a program quality director, club growth director, division or area director. Again, this position serves a full year and cannot be reelected for a succeeding term. So meaning the top three, the trio, club growth director, program quality director, and district director, cannot succeed themselves for 2 years in a row. But as we noted, they can come back later. Any comments on this?
Nope, that's good.
All right, well, let's move on to district director. We're doing really well. We're at 6:26, so we might run over a little bit today. So we'll move through these fairly quickly. The district director is our chief executive officer. He or she administers and oversees the district's day-to-day operations, finances, and human resources. The only officer authorized to sign a contract. And he or she chairs the district executive committee and the district council, which we will talk about in just a moment. Any comments here, Phyllis? Since I have not been in this role. Of course, I haven't been in the program quality role. You have. Share with us some of your insight as the district governor at the time.
I think he oversees. There's overseer. It's like you need to know what's going on with each one of your officers, the top three. They need to meet. They need to be in contact with one another so that you can administer and oversee the finances, sign the checks, authorize contracts. Be sure it's the contract. And, ask for help. Ask for somebody else's opinion. Doesn't mean you have to take it, but you need to know that what you are doing is best for your district. So
well, I can tell you that our district meets, our trio meets every week, every Monday evening. So we are there. District director qualifications, active club member for the preceding 12 months or for 12 consecutive months within the past 3 years in the district for that position. Mm-hmm. That was an interesting one. Have served at least 6 consecutive months as a president and at least 12 consecutive months as program quality director, club growth director, division director, or some sort of combination of all of those positions. And there again, you serve for a full year and you cannot be reelected for a succeeding term. Now, I have talked about the district council and I've talked a little bit about the district executive committee and some supporting roles. I want to go over those. The district council consists of the district executive committee, which I'll detail in a little bit, club presidents and club vice presidents of education. That is the district council. And the district council is the body, the administrative body that actually votes who is going to be in many of these leadership positions and that occurs in May. The district executive committee consists of the immediate past district director, the district director, program quality director, club growth director, public relations manager, administration manager, which is, I served in this role 3 times in 2 different districts. That's a fancy term for secretary. The finance manager and the logistics manager, which is a fancy term for sergeant at arms. It also, in our case, it will include the parliamentarian, who technically speaking is non-voting. Any comments about the executive committee, Phyllis, where we take a look at some supporting roles and then wrap this up?
No.
Okay, very good. I don't mean to rush us through, but I know our audience, we're at 6:30, so I want to make sure we cover all of this and give some references. Now, the district support team are positions that you don't often hear about, but we have an operations manual. We have a district, sort of a policies and procedures book, how to get things done. And we have an operations chair. And I have a feeling, yes, you probably know the operations chair very well. Phyllis is our operations chair. We have a credentials chair who makes sure that only properly credentialed individuals are voting at our meetings. We have a protocol chair who makes sure that we have all of our dignitaries properly recognized and listed. We have an audit committee to make sure that our finances are up to snuff, and that has to be reported to TI. We have a realignment chair, and this is a position that folks may not be familiar with, but as we grow, or as clubs unfortunately close, we have to look at how the areas and the divisions are aligned, and we may have to propose a realignment, and we need a chairperson to look at that and guide us along that way. We have the district leadership committee and nominations chair. That role is filled by our immediate past district director, and it is their role to solicit and obtain applications for leadership positions within the district, to interview all of those folks who apply for area director, district director, club growth director, program quality director, and district director, and then make recommendations to the district council. We have a webmaster, photographer, and an incentive chair this year, which is very nice. And our incentive chair has the role of developing incentives for our clubs and for our officers, particularly like the area directors. Now, finally, before I go there, is there anything I forgot or that you want to add to this list? Any comments?
Well, I think there are some others, but I wanted to mention on the nominating chair, they are doing interviews. And if you're not sure whether or not you want to be an area director, apply, because the information that you'll get in this interview will help you make your decision. So apply and see what happens. See if you think you're going to like it, because the interviews do give you a good understanding of what your role will be.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought, that was a perfect segue into this reference page, resource page. You can get an application on our website. That's d115tm.org/become a district leader. Applications are there. Go online, fill them out. The committee will then schedule an interview, and you can make your decisions, as you pointed out, from there. Also, if you want to learn more about the role that you are interested in, you can download a district leader handbook, and all of the positions that we've talked about, it's actually got about 100 pages in it. It describes in much more detail than we've had time to today what exactly those district leadership roles are. Whew, we got through that in about 34 minutes.
Well, it was a great overview.
Well. Yes, that was a great overview, I think. And anything you want to say to our viewers and listeners before we wrap up today's Wake Up with Toastmasters?
Don't be content just staying in your club. Try something else. I mean, you joined Toastmasters to learn and get an education, maybe come out of your shell as I did. And what great way to do it than to being a leader. Area director is a great place to start. But if it's not possible right now, keep it in mind. And if you saw one of those appointed offices that really is right up your alley, think about talking to the next district leader about that.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions or if you'd like to be a guest on Wake Up with Toastmasters, please send me an email at d115cgd@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, suggestions, we would appreciate that very much. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you again on Thursday on our edition of Wake Up with Toastmasters. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Got to click the right button.